This is Harriet Grayson, your host and producer for Community Culture Showcase. And listen, it's official. It may not feel like it, but it is actually spring. And springtime is a wonderful time of the year. We have lots of cultural activities coming for spring and summer in our wonderful part of the world. And today I have a wonderful guest going to talk about one of my favorite things, which is playwriting. Because in my spare time, when I'm not doing this show and writing novels, I'm also doing a little dabbling in the playwriting. So I want you to welcome Natalie. Wonderful to have you on my show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Natalie Osborne. I'm a writer and an actor, and I just love making theater and telling stories. And I'm also the executive producer and artistic director of NOplays, which is a community-based theater group that produces and promotes works by underrepresented voices in the American theater, specifically focusing on emerging female writers.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how long have you been doing this?
This is our 5-year anniversary.
Oh, okay.
I did the first one was my senior year of college in Vermont. And then it just kind of kept going, and we've done a few festivals in New Haven, Connecticut. We've worked with Hubbard Hall in upstate New York. We did one show in New York City with the 13th Street Repertory Theater. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and it's unbelievable kind of looking back now to think, oh wow, this has been going on for this long and we're still doing it. It's great.
So you're not a permanent theater group. In other words, it's not a permanent ensemble that comes back time and time again to do different works, or?
We have like a group of directors and actors who have worked with us before who come back whenever they can to do projects. So we've kind of got our own little community going, but it's always different every time. We've got different plays, different directors coming in. This year was very special because of our 5-year anniversary. So what we did was take all of the plays that we've done in this HERSTORY festival and did an online poll and then asked people who had seen the shows before, well, which shows do you want to see again? And so this is kind of a retrospective. It's the best of, or the plays that received the most votes getting a revival.
So tell us a little bit about HERSTORYs. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
All right. Tell us a little bit about that in terms of what it is versus other kinds of ensembles that might actually be here in our community.
Yeah, so it's a partnered with 365 Women a Year, which is this playwriting coalition our goal is to write women back onto stages and back in the history books. And every year it's writing plays that feature 365 different historical women, either something different about those women that you might not know about, or just someone who had made a huge contribution to the world that people just don't know. And so that's been going on for quite some time as well. I think they're getting their 5-year anniversary soon, actually, as well. So HERSTORY was basically the NOplays version of that, where we took plays from that group and other plays written by emerging female writers that featured historical women and putting them together in an evening of one acts.
So everything is everything a one-act play? Is that
yes? They're all short, 10-minute to 15 minutes each.
Okay.
And so you get a whole smorgasbord. You get all the little taste of all these different writers.
Can you give us examples of some of the women that you have showcased in terms of this historical people we haven't heard about or don't know about?
Yeah. Well, there was a play last year. I wrote this based off of my time in Iceland, but her name was Sigurdóra Thomasori. She was an environmentalist that stopped a energy company from coming in and using all the waterfalls and basically destroying them to make a bunch of energy, and it was a foreign company, but she basically started environmental activism in her entire country. And there's been others. There's been a playwright named Amy Ostringer wrote a play about her grandmother, or based off of her grandmother, who was a Holocaust survivor, and that was a very moving piece. That was last year as well. And we've had plays about more well-known women. We have a play about Frida Kahlo that was more focused on her sexuality because she was bisexual, and that's something that a lot of people don't know. And for a lot of members of the LGBT community, myself included, finding that out, it's like, oh wow, really? cool. And yeah, so I think all the plays either they highlight a different aspect of that historical figure, or it's here's someone you knew nothing about. And for myself, reading all these plays and being able to learn about all of these people, it's like, wow, oh my goodness, there's so many women who have done so much and don't get recognized for it. And I'm glad we're finally able to kind of shine a light on them and give them the attention they deserve.
So you function more as like a producing group, do I understand that correctly?
Yeah.
And it's you and who else, or just you?
I'm the one who kind of just brings everybody together.
Okay.
And then once that's happened, it just goes from there.
Okay. So is there sort of like a committee, people send you pieces, and then you, with a group, decide whether that's worthy of producing? Is
yeah, so I have this spreadsheet basically, but I'm just looking for things like the structure of the play. Does it have a beginning, middle, and an end that's clear? And if it doesn't, why? And is like the playwright trying to do something interesting with that, or is it just like maybe needs a little bit of work? And just like some other things, diversity is important as well. Mm-hmm. So just making sure that we're not just doing all women of one race or class. We want to make sure we have women of color. We're promoting women of color. We're promoting LGBT representation. We try to get as much representation in there as possible, and just striking the right balance between comedy and drama. I always try to make it 50-50, because otherwise, if it's all funny, that's something fun too, but it's nice to have those serious moments. And then on the other side, if it's all very dramatic pieces, it could feel very weighty, and you kind of need those lighter moments as well.
So let me see if I understand. Say I have a playwright listening in from who knows where. They would go ahead and then they could send you what they want, something they've written. Do you accept, is it open to just sending things, or no, you don't want that?
It's open, and you can send me things if you want. I can't guarantee I'll be able to find the time to do it, but I'm always open to reading new works.
Yeah, okay.
And promoting, but we do a monthly newsletter, which is just readings, publications, productions all over the country. So if you've got an event coming up and you want to promote it, just send that to me before the end of the month, and it'll go out with the rest of the plays in that newsletter.
So how do they get in touch with that newsletter? Do we
just send me an email at natalie.noplays natalie.noplays@gmail.com.
Okay, that's easily Natalie, NATALIE.NOPLAYS@gmail.com.
Exactly.
That's it. And so what do you consider yourself to be in terms of this? In terms of what you've developed, do you feel more like a producer? Do you feel like a writer, an actress? I mean, where are you?
I definitely feel more like a producer. Okay. I have done the thing where we're wearing multiple hats in a single show, mainly out of necessity.
Right.
And I've decided I don't like doing that.
Okay.
So I try to limit it down. And I think it's always when you're writing the plays, at least for me, it's easier, because once the play is written, it's done. My work is done. That is now up to the actors and directors, but definitely trying to perform or direct in something while also trying to produce the festival. That's no.
Too much.
That's too much.
Too overwhelming.
And yeah, I'd rather give that to somebody who is more experienced, especially with the directing portion of that, is more experienced and knows what they're doing, and can focus only on doing that one job.
Did you start out thinking that you wanted to be an actress, or did you actually think that you wanted to be a writer? I mean, how's the metamorphosis of you as a human being?
Oh, that's a great question. I think when I was a little kid, I fell in love with musical theater, and that's like all I wanted to do was perform on Broadway. And then, somewhere along the line, I discovered writing, and that, I can be the person who invents the world, and then it comes to life, and I can create the story, and that was really exciting. And I decided that's what I wanted to do more. And I guess in a way I felt like I kind of had to pick which one I wanted to focus on, and I chose the writing. And so I went to college, and I studied theater, and I studied anthropology, and I was lucky to go to a school, Bennington, which is very open about the way the students design their curriculum, so I was kind of able to just do what I wanted. And I took some acting classes, mainly from the perspective of, I'm going to write for actors, I should know how that works. But then, somewhere along the lines, I just realized that I missed performing, and I actually wanted to do it, and one of my day jobs while I was still here in Connecticut was working as an party entertainer, and so doing corporate events and birthday parties, and I learned to walk on stilts. I started learning how to hula hoop fire. I was doing all this fun stuff, and like I really miss this. I really love performing, and I'm actually getting paid to do it, so I must not be completely terrible at it.
Right.
So I just started auditioning for things, and then I decided, I'm gonna move to New York and just see what happens. Just see. I mean, worst case scenario, I come back to Connecticut and I work as a party entertainer again. Mm-hmm. But what do I have to? Might as well try. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? And so I moved to New York. And
so you left Connecticut and you moved to New York 5 years ago or more?
A year ago.
Oh, a year ago. Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing NOplays for 5 years.
Oh, okay. And so you moved to, and we were talking about this off Bedford-Stuyvesant, which is a very interesting, historically black community in Brooklyn, New York. So I'm just curious, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about what it's like as a white Connecticut person to go and live in what is historically has been a middle-class and upper-middle-class black community. I mean, did you get any reaction from your neighbors?
Yeah, I feel like gentrification is such a hard problem, and I feel like it's just difficult because there's only certain places where I can afford to live. Mm-hmm. And I do love the community there. It's a great place to be, I think, but it's hard when I'm not trying to contribute to gentrification. I'm just trying to find a place where I can afford to pay rent. But that's kind of how it starts. You have the artists coming in who can't afford rent anywhere else, and then they go and make art, and then all of a sudden that neighborhood's cool and all the rich people want to move there, and then everybody who lived there originally has to move out. And yeah, so it's a cycle, and it's a problem, and it's definitely something that I think about a lot in terms of, well, what can I do to not do that, but also still find a place where I can live and make art and do what I do. But there are a lot of great groups that are doing things about that. There's Black Lives Matter, there's Indivisible, there's Make the Road. So just trying to get more involved with them, and I encourage everybody to get involved with them because they're doing great stuff right now to help make the world a better place.
Yes, yes. So you live with a group of people who are like-minded? In other words, they're playwrights, actors, or?
Yeah, I live, a couple of my roommates are actors as well. It makes it very fun.
I bet, sure.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a play idea, there you are. You have right there an instant acting core to produce it, right?
Yeah, we do a lot of spontaneous improv in the kitchen. So.
That's very good. That's excellent. So how do you transform going from Brooklyn back to Connecticut, where most of the work is produced? Is it produced mostly here in Connecticut?
It's a process. It's definitely been a learning process for me this year. Because it's the first year I've really kind of been doing things remotely, so I've made some mistakes, but I've learned some things, and so to do it again, I think I would know how to do it better and just try to find that right balance. And it's definitely something I'm thinking about in terms of NOplays going forward and how much is going to be in Connecticut, because that's where we started and that's where I started, and this is my home.
Right.
But so is New York is also my home.
Right.
So it's kind of finding that balance between both places.
Well, I would think, as much as I know about Brooklyn, New York, is that it is an incubator for lots of art of all kinds, and certainly playwriting and all kinds of writing is actually done there, because there are a lot of like-minded people like yourself who come from all over the world, actually, and settle in there. Oftentimes, for the reason you just mentioned, it's relatively inexpensive, at least less expensive than being in Manhattan. So people who have relatively little money, or want to stretch it out there, find themselves there. Are you looking for more venues in New York City and able to produce your works? Yeah,
I think I'm kind of at a place right now where it's just thinking kind of bigger picture, existentially, where this is going to be and what we're going to do after this first HERSTORY event. Well, first that's going to happen, and then it's kind of just thinking about looking forward.
Tell us about HERSTORY.
Yeah,
Tell us about what you're doing.
It's going to be March 30th, so this Saturday at 3:30 p.m. at the New Haven Free Public Library, and it's our first year working with them, partnering with them for a venue, so they've been absolutely fantastic. So I'm really happy that to have that relationship, and I think it's going to be a great show. Very excited for it.
So is it free to the audience?
Yes,
it
is free.
So people would want to know, people who are watching who want to be playwrights and writers and actors and producers, how can you even pay your rent in Brooklyn if things that you do are actually free? So you must have sponsors, right?
Yeah, we do donations. So in the past we've had we have small businesses who will give a little bit and then have ads in the program. We have an online fundraiser going on this year, and you can win fabulous prizes, so check that out on the website. But every little bit counts. Like $5 goes a long way. And of course, the library has been a huge help with that as well.
And who did you start chit-chatting with in the library? Is this something like, it's not the reference librarian,
No.
who's your point of contact? I mean, I'm just thinking if other people are out there who might want to put on a play or have a discussion or something, who's the point of reference at something like the New Haven Library? Yeah,
so I think what I did was just email them and ask if they were interested, and then they put me in charge of, or not in charge of. They put me in charge. Yes, in touch with the person who does the kind of arts coordinations events.
Okay.
But yeah, so I would just say email them, and if they're interested, they'll get you in touch with the right people to make that happen.
That's wonderful. Have you worked with other public libraries to do that?
Yeah, well, we've worked with the Silk Road Art Gallery, and we've also did a show last year at the Institute Library.
And where are those?
They're all in New Haven.
Oh, okay, in New Haven. So you've got a cluster of venues that you use in New Haven that you've sort of cultivated over the years. If you could do something, where else would you like to be? I mean, what other venues would you like to be in?
Oh, that's, again, the existential question. That's great. I mean, I love New Haven. I think New Haven has an amazing theater scene, especially with the festival, the arts festival they do every June. I've seen such amazing work there. Everybody should go see that too. And yeah, I think there's just so many great places. I mean, I think New York is kind of like the hub of the theater world, but then there's all these other places that kind of maybe get overshadowed. That would be great if they could all come to the light as well. But I know New Haven has such a fantastic art scene, and I think Hartford has one too. It's all over Connecticut. Okay. Connecticut, just as a state, has a lot going on
in terms of the arts community.
Absolutely.
And is there a reason why? I mean, is it just because people went to college here, or they just lived here and they thought, well, this is a cool place to be, and so...
The Nutmeg State is just amazing. It's just natural. It's the nutmeg side. I think it's the beach, it's the natural environment, it's kind of having all these creative minds coming in, and yeah, it's...
The new governor, she could use you for a PR campaign to get more people to come and visit and live in Connecticut, the Nutmeg State. Yes. So tell us how you evolved as an artist. I'm always interested because I'm a writer, and so I started out doing different things, and then finally, much later in my life, I went into fiction. I started out doing newspapers. I was the arts reviewer for a college newspaper, and so I got involved with the arts community because that's what I was reviewing. And then I evolved from doing that to small business columns, which is again nonfiction, to eventually doing actually fiction. How do you feel that your evolution, your changing in terms of who you are as a writer and an artist, how that evolves?
Yeah. I think for me, just in terms of my writing, I've always been interested in writing really beefy but really funny female characters, and I think that's just because as an actress, those are the characters I gravitated towards, and they were always male, and there's just like not as many dynamic, fun female characters to play. So I kind of started as a teenager writing roles that I wanted for myself, right. And then that kind of evolved as I'd write a lot of children's theater and children's plays, and I always try with the LGBT representation. That's something that's really important to me because as a young person growing up, there wasn't really any LGBT representation aimed in media that was designed for children. So then it's gotten better. I think there are some, even for viewers at that age. And there was some for like kind of more teenagers and more adults as I was growing up, but it was just kind of like this idea that maybe there's something wrong with me because there's no characters in the things that I'm watching, and I don't want other kids to feel that way. So
Right.
just writing characters like that so that people can, because everyone should be able to see themselves in the plays or in the movies and TV shows, whatever it is, and like the media you're consuming. You know, everybody kind of deserves that representation, and I think other people have spoken on this as well. But it's kind of like if you shield children from that because you tell them, oh, it's inappropriate, they're not able to see that, then they're going to grow up, and it's going to be too late, and they're going to be thinking that can really affect someone's self-esteem. So wanting to do that, and then it just sort of evolved, and yeah, I'm always kind of exploring these themes of, you know, feminism and history and anthropology and just representation. And for me, it's exploring me as a person, I think, as well, when writing about identity in that way. And yeah, I'm just seeing where it goes from here.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. But, you know, in all of the arts, there is this whole idea that there is this underrepresentative group, whether it be women, women of color, just people of color, the gay community, that whole aspect that somehow everything was white men. So that right? So we're starting to see the change. I would think that the genesis of the HERSTORY is all about this idea of let's bring to light a different stories that people. Now, do you get pushback from groups that don't like this idea of you presenting a different story, a story they're not familiar with?
No.
Well,
thankfully, we haven't had that.
You know, it's maybe because you're not going to Mississippi and Alabama and places in other parts of the country where there might be some pushback.
Yeah, I think people have been very, very open for the most part to that idea and excited about it. And yeah, and I think that it is because of where we are, and it also might just be because of the nature of the work itself, because it is theater, so that you're getting the theater community and that sort of audience to come in, and also that it's a smaller project. So, I mean, the people who know about it are excited about it and get involved with it, but it's not like we're the Disney Corporation advertising, you're our first LGBT character in a movie. And, you know, people are going to get backlash against that because those people probably don't even know this is happening. So,
okay, all right.
But yeah, we'll see. That's something that hasn't come up yet, but I mean, if I've learned anything in life so far, it's anything and everything can happen.
Right, right. So the HERSTORY, which is in March, what are you going to be showing? Can you share with us what kind of theatrical performances people might see?
Yeah, so we've got 4 plays. There are staged readings, and we've got plays about Anna Pavola, who was a dancer. That she's one of the historical women being featured. Then we have Frida Kahlo, that play that I was talking about, and we have.
She's the artist.
Yes,
the visual artist, right?
Yeah, the painter, and Anna Pavola is, of course, a dancer. And then we have, just gonna look real quick. Yes, we have a piece about Stella Adler and Sylvia Gassel, they were both actors who made very unique but very important strives for women in the arts, in theater. And then we have a play about Leah Alcorn, who was a young transgender woman. Interesting.
Now, so you're the producer.
Yes.
So how did you pick these 4 out of who knows how many others were given to you?
Well, these were all 4 plays that we had produced in past HERSTORY festivals.
Okay.
And so what we did was create an online poll and asked audience members and people who had seen these plays before, or people in the community who are interested, here are the plays, here are the women they're about, what do you want to see? Which plays do you want to pick for a revival? And these were the 4 that were chosen.
The top winners, right? So how many people actually responded to your request to choose something?
We had about 50, so
okay.
It was a decent amount.
All right,
I'd say.
Okay.
That's about the size of the audience we normally get for a performance. So.
It's 50 people. Okay. Is the work in terms of the way it's performed in any way edgy? Or would you consider it edgy? What do you think?
I think it's what I do as the producer is once I get everybody together. I let the directors kind of take off with their own vision, because that's their job, that is their talent, and I trust that people will have a good interpretation of the plays, and they always do.
Well,
you give people kind of the space to be like, you can do it however you want to do it. I trust your vision, and you just give people like that kind of artistic freedom and that support, and they come up with great work. Yeah.
Would you say that there's a difference between the performance people might see in New Haven this week versus the original performance?
Yeah, so we've had some returning folks, and then we have some new folks as well. So I think it'll be great to see new interpretations of those pieces based on who's directing this year.
Okay, all right.
And who's performing this year.
And how did you select, for example, the directors? I mean, you're the producer. Did you then select the directors once you selected the play, or had the audience select the plays for you?
Yeah, so we put out an ad, and I just reached out to directors who've done this festival in the past years, and we've got a mix of, we got some new folks, we've got some returning folks, and so yeah, it's a good mix of, got fresh faces and faces that have been around for, actually someone who's been around, I think directed every HERSTORY so far, thus far, and has returned every year, which is fantastic. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing all of them.
And it is a conscious decision that the plays are about women, and that the directors are women?
The directors are co-ed. I'm trying to think of a better word for that, but we've had female and male directors.
Okay, so the directors can be either or whatever.
Yeah.
And the actors, of course, would have to fit into the context of whatever the play is. But the plays are all about women.
Yes.
So that the actors would be, are they all one person shows, or are they?
They're multiple.
Okay, so there's actually going to be several actors in some of the plays.
Yes.
Okay. What's your personal favorite about the 4 that are on? Can you share?
Oh, I can't choose between my babies. I love all of them in different ways. I think the Leah Acorn piece is very powerful. The Frida Kahlo one is just so much fun and so entertaining. I'm really excited for how Little Swan is going to be this year. I think the 2 actresses who are performing in that they have a great relationship, so that's going to be really a fantastic piece. And then after The Thin Man is the one about Stella Adler, is a great play written by Shellen Lubin, who's a friend of mine, and she's just a fantastic writer, and it's such a dynamic piece. And yeah, they're all fantastic.
So the people that you're describing, for the most part, except for Frida, are probably not household names where people would know who they are?
I'd say maybe Stella Adler. At least I would hope so. She's quite a famous acting teacher.
Yes, I was going to say, she has been, now she must be long dead, right? Or is she actually still alive?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I associate her name, having lived in New York City for many years. I mean, you'd see her, she had like an ads and papers, or people would talk about her as an acting teacher.
Mm-hmm. So this play is actually, that we're doing, is actually about how she decided to do that, what made her decide to become an acting teacher.
Oh, okay, that's it. And it's in one person, or is it
it's
two people? And what's the other person? Are they the
there's
foil?
There's Sylvia Gassel, who started her own theater company and kind of went off her own path, and is maybe not as well known as Stella, but should maybe be, because she made a lot of contributions for female actors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think, with all the noise being made by Me Too movement, that that the future of theater is going to be more inclusive than it's been in the past?
I would hope so. Yeah, I would hope so too. And I think one of the best things about the Me Too movement is just having all these women come together and really supporting each other for the first time, and giving each other a voice against all like the sexism and sexual harassment. And it's I think really powerful to see that, and kind of shows that our best resources and our best allies are often each other.
Mm-hmm. Do you think things are easier in the theater to be more inclusive than it is, say, on film or in TV?
I'd like to think that, but I also know that there's problems in theater as well. But I think it's just based on the fact that it's a community.
Okay.
It's, you're working together in the same space, and you have to get the show done, and it's live and it's in front of an audience, and that sort of connection that you get with theater that you don't really get with any other art form, I'd like to think brings us all a little bit closer. And being closer, we would want things to be better.
Well, also closer in
everyone.
terms of the audience reaction, you can immediately see whether you've hit a right point or a wrong point in terms of how the audience reacts. I think the theater, in the sense that it's more open because there's so many layers of being able to perform theater in not only in New York but anywhere, because you have community theater. Then you do have the union stuff. I mean, there's just levels and levels and levels. And I guess the other important thing is that doesn't cost an awful lot of money to put on a theater performance versus making a film or certainly television, which is expensive as well. So there's that freedom that comes with the fact that I'm not spending millions and millions of dollars. Maybe it's a couple of $1,000s, maybe it's a few $100s that's involved versus, so I can take risks because I'm not shelling out $2 billion, right? I'm shelling out $200. So I can take more risks. So to get that sense, is your aim to do things with more risk or simply just to tell us stories that we don't know?
I think for now it's telling stories that we don't know, and I love taking risk and wanting to do that, but just trying to figure out what the best way to do that is.
Right.
I guess, yeah. And just trying to figure out, I think the goal is just to promote women and to promote other underrepresented voices, to get more of this work out there so that people can see it and people can learn about this history that's been kind of hidden to us. And yeah.
Do you have some, or are trying to make some inroads in the media in New Haven so that they give you some platform? Well, because New Haven is one of the very few commercial television stations in the state of Connecticut. Connecticut doesn't really have too many commercial TV stations. So if you can get some interest by someone there to come and even witness what you're going on or get an interview before, I don't know that, but that's what makes me think about that. Of course, Yale being there, the theater out of Yale, internationally renowned. So have you been able to use those kinds of connections to highlight what you want to do?
We've definitely always open to that. Always trying to get in touch with that. But there's a lot of theater going on in New Haven, so I definitely don't want to be like, they won't get in touch with me. But just hopefully as we continue to do this, eventually we'll get some more notice, and that can help us spread the message.
Even the library as a source, because they are big in the community.
Yeah, they've been absolutely fantastic
Right.
with all the help they've been providing us for this year. There, I cannot praise them enough. They're wonderful.
Right. They're actually doing their community service.
Yes,
beyond
absolutely.
just simply giving out books. Is there a performance space inside the library that allows you to be able to do this? Okay, that's great.
There's actually a few.
A few?
Yeah, but they've been. Yeah, I mean, even before we were working on this HERSTORY project, I've attended classes, lectures. They have a fantastic collection of books, and they let so I know when I was living in Milford, I was still able to get the New Haven Public Library card, which was fantastic to take out different books that weren't available in Milford. So yes, they're a wonderful institution.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah, I cannot sing their praises highly enough.
Right. Well, there's you see programs like there's programs here in the Groton Public Library, and Westerly has programs, but you don't see is theater.
No.
That seems like it doesn't link together, but in fact, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, of course.
It makes a lot of sense because sometimes it's hard it's like almost an extension of how you have programs for reading to children, So you get to the next step is you're reading to adults, basically. That's what theater, to some extent, is all about, is relating through live performance to, I would assume, adult audiences, but they're not R-rated. In other words, you could bring teenagers or someone else to the performance?
Yeah, I'd say for young children, some of the plays might be a little too much. But yeah, we don't try to do anything that would be exclusive towards anybody.
Okay,
So.
all right. So if people want to go, where is the library actually located?
It's right on the New Haven Green.
Oh, okay.
So right in the middle of the city, but it's, yes, I don't remember the exact address off my head, but it is right there in the center of everything.
And it's you can just park your car somewhere nearby and
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's parking on the street. There's a couple of lots nearby. There's one over near the art gallery, which actually, if you become a member of the art gallery, I'm going to plug them in too because I also love them. You can get discounted parking. So there's that, and there's a couple of garages nearby. So I'd say parking is, it's maybe not the easiest thing to find, but it's certainly doable. It's not
right.
New York.
Right.
You can find a place to park, I promise.
All right. And again, it's this Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's Saturday at 3:30.
3:30 in the afternoon. And how long is it going to stretch, for an hour, do you think?
Yes.
Or more than an hour?
It's going to be an hour.
It's going to be an hour. And so there's a break after each performance? Is that how you're working it?
We're doing it, we normally just go straight through
Oh.
all the plays. So then at the end of the hour, people can ask if people have any questions. But yeah, so it'll end probably around 4:30.
Okay. Do you anticipate 50 people coming or more?
Yeah, I'd say that amount.
Okay, all right.
We're always open for more.
Right, if you could get 150 people,
That'd be fantastic. I don't know where we're going to put them, but we're going to find a way.
That's right. And under what umbrella does the library do this? Is it just as theater, or just a continuation of some arts program that they have? How do they perceive of this playwriting idea?
I think it's part of their arts program.
Okay, so visual arts, this kind of arts. Now we have live theater.
Yes.
Yes. So as the producer, think big, and I always say think big. Think big, and what's your dream for the next 5 years? So you've met your 5-year anniversary. You're still here. You're still producing plays. What's next?
I would love for us to do a full season at some point of full-length original works, completely on their feet.
Right.
And yeah, that would be fantastic.
Because these are the ones you're doing now are just 10, 15 minute.
They're short. I mean, it was just still plays. Great because I love that you can kind of, you get a little taste of everything. You get to see all these different writers, kind of their own different styles right up next to each other. And that's always fantastic. So the next level would be more than a one-act play, or even one-act plays can actually be a lot longer than 10 minutes, of course. And to move that what kind of plays? I mean, sticking to the same format. Full length, two acts. I don't know, maybe 3-act. If we get really ambitious, we'll do like a 7-hour long play, like Angels of America. I don't know. But yeah, that would be great to just do a full season of original works written by female writers.
So you're consumed
and
by
non-binary writers, writers who don't normally get their work produced.
Okay, so now you were consumed by the 5 years. So next year, what's next year?
I'm still trying to get through this year.
See, that's what happens with artists. You know, when you wear so many hats, it's so hard to see what's going to happen tomorrow. Like the day after, on Sunday, March 31st, you think, oh my God, now what? Right? You wake up and say, now what? Yeah. So I was talking to you earlier about the fact that I love to promote the arts, and I live in Westerly, Rhode Island. And so we were talking about this idea of literary salon. So I created Literary Salon. It's Literary Salon, Books and Brews. because it's hosted by the Malted Barley, which is a local pub restaurant in downtown Westerly, where the parking is always hard. But it's always worth a trip down to downtown Westerly. And Westerly has gone from this kind of really blue-collar town. I've lived there since 1999, and it has evolved slowly into this magnet for all kinds of art stuff. So, there's the art gallery is now in the train station, the Westerly, Rhode Island, Amtrak train station. So all these people who kind of stumble out of the train and go to the bathroom, oh my God, here's this great artwork. And there's the Granite Theater, which is a community theater. And then they're renovating what was once a vaudeville house and a movie house, United Theater, into a performing arts center. So we have all this going on, and meanwhile we have people like Colin Bennett, who own the Malted Barley, who say, oh, Harriet, what the heck, go ahead, give it a try. So I get a nice, beautiful private room. And my idea is, I started out literary, so I started out with writers, local writers, fiction, nonfiction, having an opportunity to read and discuss their works, in terms of whoever shows up to have a beer and a pretzel. But we have had playwrights, and it's been a lot of fun. The first time we did it, the playwright actually came with some professional actors. The second time we did it, the audience, we asked them to volunteer to read parts of the play. And he brought along enough copies of the play that it was, not an issue. And that was a lot of fun, because we have a lot of people who don't want to admit that they want to be actors, but like to hear themselves talk. So it's a great experience. So I am interested in inviting your organization to come in and do a play or two, whether you need audience participation or not, to have an opportunity to see plays, because I think like reading and doing this playwrights, is a wonderful opportunity for the people to kind of broaden their idea about what entertainment is. Because most people don't go to the theater. And most people, unfortunately, after they read to their children, don't really read to themselves. So there's this, little vacuum in the internet and reading about stuff on a computer screen. To me, of course, I'm much older than you are, that doesn't seem like a literary experience. So we try to create this, and so there's an invitation there for you to bring one of your playwrights, all of your playwrights over time, to come to the Malted Barley, upstairs in the private room at Literary Salon, and have an opportunity to put on a little play. And I think we try to promote it. I've had some support, like I was asking you about whether the TV station is at all interested. And it is. It's so hard to get even a local newspaper to give you some publicity, free publicity. If you want to pay for it, my gosh, sure. They're willing to take your money. But it becomes much harder to get free stuff. Just public releases to the papers, to the TV stations, to get them involved. And with the fading out of newspapers in general in the whole world, it becomes harder and harder. Every little inch is if I can make money on it, or is it going to be precious to me? So I can understand it, but it becomes harder for people like yourself who have these startup groups who need an audience, and more than an audience, you probably need some kind of, even if they're small, sponsors of one kind or another. And it's so hard to get notice, and so that we're, I understand, because I struggle even with the Literary Salon to get some kind of publicity to get the public to come in. And it is a struggle. It really is a struggle. So I'm interested I'm always looking for better ideas to get people involved in what we're trying to do. So that's what the whole purpose of this program is all about, is to get people motivated and interested in what's going on in our arts community. And it is a huge and wonderful community. And this station is going to be, we have a 5-year anniversary coming up this June.
Congratulations!
And we're going to have, we have an art show. We have a birthday party.
Fabulous.
And we should be paying also tribute to one of our hosts and producers. Unfortunately passed away this year, just
sorry
recently.
To hear that.
And so there's a kind of he was an author, of course. He had an author show. He interviewed authors, and he was quote unquote, and I mean this in the biggest love kiss, a character. He was in fact a real live character, and that's in a really good sense. So that's part of what we, and then we say, I'm on the board of directors of this TV station, and we're always thinking about what's going to happen next year, 5 years out. So so I say to you as a producer, you gotta, Sunday, you gotta start thinking next year and into like 5 years from now, where am I gonna be? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen to theater? And I think that even in this crazy technology world, that there's always space for live theater, just like there's always space for public readings by authors, fiction, nonfiction, children. They need to hear spoken words, and so that's very cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I think as our society is becoming more reliant on technology, that human-to-human interaction becomes more valuable. And I think that's why we're kind of seeing this rise in interactive theater now with Sleep No More, but it's also in like theme parks and Renaissance fairs where people are actually able to be kind of a part of the play as well. But yeah, that human to face interaction is always going to be needed more and more, I think, as we're going to be moving away towards it, away from it, and yet towards it at the same time.
Right, exactly. So do you have plays already that you're thinking about for next year?
Well, we would have to, I think it would probably be an open submission process again, because we don't want to keep only reviving the same plays that we've already done.
Absolutely.
That's just a special for this year.
Okay, well, for 5 years.
Yes,
that milestone that you're even still around and you could actually still talk about it. So yes, absolutely. But when you were thinking about doing this kind of stuff, did you have in mind a favorite playwright? Do you have someone that you like especially?
I love Sarah Rule. I love the way she uses language, and it's so playful and fun. But I love Tony Kushner. I don't know a single person in the theater community who won't say that, though, because he's amazing. But yeah, definitely there's a lot of writers. I could just go on and on and on. But
because, of course, O'Neill is famous for having been here in the state, the nice state, claims him as a favorite, certainly one of their sons, right?
The prodigal nutmegger.
Yes, exactly. And, of course, they do a bunch of stuff in his name, although, there's also a festival, I think it's in the summer, where you have original playwrights come and submit their plays, and I don't know what kind of screening process they have, and then during the course of this festival, they go ahead and have several of them presented to the public. And some nice things have come out of that, where they go on to bigger and better things. Did you have a sense from the playwrights who've created these 4 plays for you that have any of them gone on to something bigger? Are they doing 2-act plays?
Yes. I'd say a lot of them either this was like a first 10-minute play and then they've gone on to write longer plays, or they are currently have longer pieces that they've been working on, and in some cases getting produced. And I'm always trying to, when updating social media for NOplays, looking to see who's doing what. We produced their play and now they're doing a full-length play. This is great. And just promoting everyone. Just promoting, shouting out. Yeah,
it's like being the mother of the
except that I'm younger than most of the other writers, but yeah, it's just seeing that and seeing the community grow and people come from here and then go off and flourish. It's like, yes.
Would you have the capacity to put on something longer that one of these playwrights actually creates now?
Yeah, and I think because this is such an important milestone, I think I do want to spend some time just thinking about where we go from here and what the future of NOplays is going to look like, and what sort of things are we going to be doing from now on.
Because some of the local theater groups here, now some of them, like the Granite Theater, actually has a theater and it's had it for I don't know how many decades. It's been in existence as a theater. United Theater, which is evolving into a performing arts center, was vacant for like 20 years. It was a it became a rundown old movie theater that actually just closed and was just this vacant spot. And so with a bit of infusion of huge amounts of money, it's now going to change into something completely different. And then going from an old movie theater into a performing arts center is a major change, which requires a lot of money. And they picked up, and I think this is true in the arts world. We don't want to think this is true, but it is true, is that you pick a patron. You know, just like Shakespeare had a patrons, the great Renaissance painters from centuries ago had some rich patron who took their work, took them under their umbrella. We find in today's world the same kind of idea. You find yourself a patron who is invested in you and you invest in them, and lo and behold, some things actually happen. And that actually becomes even more important as we have this huge billionaire class in Connecticut, the Nutmeg State, you know, one of the richest states in the Union, and then the rest of the starving artists. And so there has been this long time idea, this is nothing new, about getting a rich person to fund you and to sponsor you, whether you're an artist or a theater company or whatever. So you got to go ahead and find people in Fairfield County who are looking to just send away their money, get rid of their money, and if they don't want to just invest in politics, they can invest in the arts. So if somebody was looking to favor you with some cash infusions there, what would you say about the company that would make it so very different than 100 others that might be struggling, maybe not in Connecticut, but around the country?
Yeah, just that this is the folk being... I'd say that, you know, this is just the dedication to getting new stories told, other stories that otherwise wouldn't be getting that sort of exposure, that need that exposure, because we need everybody's stories to be told. I mean, human beings, we're storytellers. That's just what we do. It's part of who we are. I mean, it's the one thing that I think we can do, and one of my acting teachers told me this once, there's one thing we do that other animals don't, because other animals, they have memories, they can build tools, they grieve, they're dead, and have shown empathy and compassion. Yeah, and crows, I think, are one of the species that has an amazing memory, and like they never forget a face, and they can build weapons, so whatever you do, don't make them angry at you. But yeah, and that the one thing that we do is we tell stories to each other, and stories form our identity as a people and as a culture and as a species. So what happens when only a certain group of people are getting their stories told, only like a sliver of the human experience, and how much of ourselves are we losing through that process? So companies like NOplays, which is working really hard to do something about that by bringing other stories to light. And by focusing on the underrepresented, but also focusing on history. And we don't do it, we're not like a museum, you know, the plays are not always historically accurate, but it's sparking an idea, and it's helping you learn a little something that you didn't know before, so that way you can go on and keep exploring that, and keep learning in teaching yourself and moving forward with that. And so I think we've been successful in doing that for the past 5 years, that we've built this community, and we've brought these groups of people together, these artists who are all passionate about that and have been creating that. And so to be able to continue doing that and to expand, you know, it would be very exciting.
Is there a favorite, not of the four, but of others that you've produced that you say, yes, even if the audience wasn't as favorable, you yourself had one that was, this one, you know, caught my fancy from the get-go, and I've decided that, you know, even if the other people didn't like it, I liked it. Do you come across something like that?
Yes, that's so hard. It's so hard for me to pick just one. But yeah, there was definitely, I think, HERSTORY too, all the festivals have been great, but I don't know what it was about the second festival we did where I just love all of those plays. But I wanted to do it in a way where it wasn't just one festival being redone, but kind of picking the best of. But yeah, all of those ones we've had that year were very great. I mean, they're always excellent. And Her Story 3 was great in its own way. I think that was more introspective, and it was more about like women's personal journeys and kind of coming into themselves. And the first one was just kind of us getting our feet wet, but it had this sort of idea where memory came up a lot. And I think the second one, I think you know what it was? It was right after the 2016 election. So there was kind of like this fire under everybody, like everybody's plays were like, ah! But in a good screaming, like revolution screaming, and it kind of, everybody was just like really energized about it that year, and the audience was all like, yes, this is what I needed to see. So that was a very special festival I think we had, and it kind of was a good, because it kind of empowered people, it encouraged people to keep going,
right,
and to keep, making those phone calls, writing those letters. You are doing something. Keep doing it.
The artist in revolt, as well as creating new creations. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Well, that's great. So let's repeat. We go to Her Stories.
Yes.
Saturday, March 30th, 3:30 p.m.
Yes.
At the New Haven Public Library. And you'll be entertained, and you'll be seeing something maybe different that you don't know, and you'll have a greater appreciation how the spoken word can really make your heart flutter with delight.
Yes, I hope so. That's kind of our job as theater makers, isn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, and just hopefully you'll learn something about a woman that you didn't know before, and you'll want to continue learning about her life, and her story can inspire your story.
Well, I want to thank Natalie for coming, and I want the audience to get out there. And also, while we're here in Groton, certainly New Haven is a place where there's lots and lots of great theater going on, lots and lots of great art. So if you have time, certainly during the rest of the year, go out there and explore New Haven. And then, as always, I want to promote Literary Salon, Books and Brews at the Malted Barley. This month, it's April 23rd at 7:30 p.m. We're going to celebrate springtime. So if you have something that you want to read about a writer who talks about springtime, if you are a local author and you want to have an audience to present your works or discuss your book, fiction or nonfiction, we'd love to have you there. So you can contact me at graysonharriet@gmail.com. And I want to thank you. So this is Harriet Grayson, your host and producer of Community Culture Showcase. Please support the arts no matter where they are, and especially in schools for kids to get in and enjoy art.